Hello, I'm Dilek Tuna. Welcome to A News. Here are the headlines. US President Donald Trump has announced plans to increase tariffs on steel and aluminium imports to 50%. Azerbaijan elected to the executive board of the UN Habitat Programme at the body's assembly in Nairobi. The second Global Islamic Economy Summit kicks off in Istanbul. The Turkish leader calls for stronger Islamic trade ties. US President Donald Trump plans to increase tariffs on steel and aluminium imports to 50%, effective as of the 4th of June. This doubles them from the current 25% announced in February. New tariffs would apply to millions of tons of steel and aluminium imports from Canada, Brazil, Mexico, South Korea and other countries.
US President Donald Trump has announced plans to increase tariffs on steel and aluminum imports to 50%. In February, Trump raised the tariff rates to 25% in one of his first moves to aid the struggling industries. Now he's doubled them in what he believes will secure the steel industry.
We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that. So we're bringing it up from 25%. We're doubling it to 50%.
The US president says the move is meant to boost the local steel industry and national security while reducing reliance on China.
If you don't have steel, you don't have a country. You don't have a country. You can't make a military. What are we going to do? Say, let's go to China to get our steel for the army tanks and for the boats and ships. A strong steel industry is not just a matter of dignity or prosperity and pride. It's above all a matter of national security, and it is.
In a post on social media, Trump said that the higher tariff rate would take effect on June 4th. The tariffs would apply to millions of tons of steel and aluminum imports from Canada, Brazil, Mexico, South Korea and other countries that had been entering the US duty-free. Trump's tariff announcement came as he promoted the pending $14.9 billion acquisition of America's biggest steel manufacturer, US Steel, by Japan's Nippon Steel, a move he believes will preserve American steel jobs. The doubling of steel and aluminum levies intensifies Trump's global trade war and came just hours after he accused China of violating an agreement with the US to mutually roll back tariffs and trade restrictions for critical minerals.
US President Donald Trump says he believes an agreement is close on a Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. His statement comes as the US proposed a 60-day ceasefire plan that includes sending humanitarian aid to Gaza. The plan also includes releasing 28 Israeli hostages, both alive and dead, in the first week, in exchange for 1,236 Palestinian prisoners and the remains of 180 others. Israel has accepted the deal, while Hamas says it's undertaking a thorough review of the proposal, but added that it fails to meet the demands of the Palestinian people.
Let it be a great nation, but we can't have that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
To unpack the latest developments and what they may mean for both regional stability and US diplomacy, I'm joined by Ken van Ierland, political expert, speaking to us from Amsterdam, Netherlands. Ken, thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. So President Trump sounded hopeful about a breakthrough. How much weight should we give to his optimism?
Well, it takes two to party. You know, the American president is trying to impose peace in the Middle East, which is very good. But we are dealing with Hamas. And Hamas is facing the fact that they lose their bargain chips. And the bargain chips are the hostages. So if you don't release the hostages, there won't be any ceasefire. And the chance that Hamas will do this is rather remote, I would say, because we have seen this over the last, year and a half, that Hamas has seen. We have proposed so many times ceasefires to Hamas, and they've always refused to comply with the rules of the game. And maybe if the president of the United States is able to achieve something, but I'm very worrisome about that.
Well, Hamas has said that the proposal doesn't satisfy their demands. What do we know about those demands, and how far apart are the parties at this point?
Well, Hamas requirements are always very unrealistic, and they change by the day. But one constant aspect of their demands is as always that they're not willing to release the hostages, because those are the bargain chips they're dealing with. Because they know as soon as they release all the hostages, the Israelis will push through, and they will push through anyhow, because currently 77% of Gaza Strip is already being conquered by the Israeli army. So the last 25% or 23% is a matter of weeks.
Okay, and what would a realistic ceasefire agreement need to include to be durable and not just a temporary halt in hostilities?
Well, release the hostages. And even them, they have gone too far. They have simply gone too far. Now, there maybe are 21 hostages alive. We hope so. We'll see. They won't release them. They will continue to fight. And that's going to happen. Despite of all the efforts of the American president, in my opinion, it's not going to happen. No ceasefire whatsoever. They've gone too far. The Israelis will push through, and they will put Hamas out of action, militarily and later on politically.
Okay, Mr. van der Ierland, thank you for sharing your insights today. We appreciate your time on the program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome, and have a nice weekend.
In our previous Context talk show, our Bakhtiar Hassanov discussed recent developments in Israel-Hamas war and the recent peace negotiations with Imam Marwan Gil of Ahmadiyya community. Imam Gil shared his insights and told us that he wants to see actions, not just rhetoric.
There is a movement, but I think it's far beyond and less than there should be. It's, I think, for us common people, very frustrating, and I would say even maybe one of the darkest moments in our 21st century. It is leading to so much frustration and deception in our world leaders that you see on a daily basis images, almost in a live contemporary time span, how poor persons are dying, especially children. Mm-hmm. And what we see on the other side are merely tweets, publications, asking, urging, threatening, but not more than this. There's no action. And we are now almost 18 months into this suffering unprecedentedly of the 21st century. So I think I welcome, and I think the majority of us welcome, but we would ask to have actions, not just negotiations, not just verbal rhetoric. It doesn't give you the hope or the certainty. And I think we need world leaders to back up their declarations by strong actions. In our case, as the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, even very few days after the 7th October, we said that the first step to establish a long-lasting peace between not only Palestinians and Israelis, but the whole region, is a permanent ceasefire, as it declared our worldwide caliph and spiritual head, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad. Obviously, it also includes the liberation of all the hostages, and then it also includes, very importantly, the implementation of international laws, of Geneva Conventions. Yeah. Because as a Muslim, as an Imam, I believe in Islam, I follow the religion of Islam, which literally means peace. And we believe that you can't establish peace without establishing and accepting universal principles of justice. Mm-hmm. And the primary issue here is that we don't see the respect, the dignity, the sanctity of human life. It is not it's unacceptable that the life of one person based upon his ethnicity or nationality or religion has less value in our eyes than the life of others.
Ahead of the proposed second round of direct Moscow-Kyiv peace negotiations in Istanbul, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has been shuttling between the two capitals, aiming to lay the groundwork for the talks.
Turkey is actively working to mediate peace between Russia and Ukraine. On a visit to Kyiv, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan expressed hope that the two sides will make significant progress on technical issues during their next round of talks, potentially paving the way for a leaders' summit. He said Ankara would like to host the summit with both Turkish and US presidents present. The Istanbul talks on May 16th, which marked the first direct contact between Moscow and Kyiv in 3 years, were described by Fidan as a new beginning. He believes further negotiations are possible.
İstanbul'da 16 Mayıs'ta gerçekleştirilen görüşmeler diplomatik çözüm arayışlarına.
The talks held in Istanbul on the 16th of May added a new dimension to the search for a diplomatic solution. Expectations for a ceasefire and peace have increased. We consider the Istanbul talks as a new beginning. The rapid completion of the prisoner swap agreement reached in Istanbul has proven that negotiations can yield concrete results. We want the momentum gained in Istanbul to continue.
However, Ukraine remains cautious. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha stated that Kyiv is still waiting to receive a formal document outlining Russia's peace proposals before deciding whether to attend the next meeting, scheduled for June 2nd in Istanbul. Sybiha did not clarify what steps Ukraine would take if the document is not received.
We are interested in these meetings continuing because we want to end this war this year, and we are interested in establishing a ceasefire, whether it is for 30 days, or for 50 days, or for 100 days. Ukraine is open to discussing this directly with Russia. We confirmed this during the last meeting of our delegations with the Russian side.
The Kremlin has confirmed its negotiators will travel to Istanbul and be ready for talks on Monday. A list of conditions for a potential ceasefire is expected to be on the table.
And to Asia now, China is lifting its ban on Japanese seafood imports, ending months of trade restrictions imposed after the release of treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear plant. The move signals a diplomatic thaw between the two nations, with new safety measures now in place. Our own Mahnur Maktoum brings us more from Beijing.
China has announced that it plans to gradually resume seafood imports from Japan, lifting a ban that has been in place since August 2023. The ban was originally imposed in response to Japan's release of treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant, a move that triggered strong opposition from Beijing and had severe implications for Japan's seafood export. The decision came after both countries reached a consensus on a framework to ensure food safety. Under the new agreement, Japan has committed to providing detailed documentation verifying the safety of its seafood products and providing proof that all its shipment is free of harmful radioactive substances. Japan will also register its seafood processing facilities with the Chinese authorities to enhance transparency and traceability. The resumption of trade will be phased, starting with imports outside of the Fukushima region and subject to scientific evaluation and risk assessment. Before the ban, China was Japan's biggest market for seafood export, purchasing over $500 million worth in 2022. This development marks a step forward in bilateral relations and reflects the two countries' willingness to manage environmental and health concerns through dialogue and cooperation. Manu Maktoum, A News, Beijing, China.
To Europe now, where Poland's presidential race is heading into its final stretch. Both leading candidates held their last campaign rallies ahead of Sunday's crucial runoff vote. With the vote just hours away, Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski and conservative historian Karol Nawrocki made their final pitches. Trzaskowski in Gdansk evoked Poland's solidarity past, urging unity and change. Nawrocki, speaking to supporters, framed himself as a grassroots candidate challenging political elites. In the first round, Trzaskowski led with just over 31% and Nawrocki close behind at nearly 30%. With all other candidates out, Sunday's vote will decide Poland's political direction. The stakes are high and the outcome could reshape the country's future, from its relationship with Brussels to the very structure of its democracy.
Poland is just days away from choosing its next president. The runoff pits two sharply different visions. Rafał Trzaskowski, Warsaw mayor, the Oxford-educated son of a jazz musician, champions a liberal agenda that emphasises women's rights and strong ties with the European Union and NATO. Karol Nawrocki, a historian endorsed by the Trump administration, presents himself as a political outsider with no establishment baggage. He wants Poland to follow a path inspired by Trump, viewing Washington, not Brussels, as Warsaw's key ally. Trzaskowski has pledged peaceful cooperation with the government of Prime Minister Donald Tusk and vowed to help reverse changes made to Poland's judiciary under National Conservative political party Law and Justice, reforms that critics in the EU at home say have weakened democratic checks and balances. In the October 2023 parliamentary elections, Law and Justice Party lost its majority to Tusk's coalition after 8 years in power, amid widespread public dissatisfaction over its record on women's and minority rights.
Potrzebna jest pełna determinacja.
Full determination is needed. Every vote is needed so that the future wins, so that all of Poland wins. This is not just about choosing a president, it's about choosing whether Poland continues to stand with Europe with democratic values and with a fair, modern future.
His challenger, Karol Nawrocki, is running on tradition and patriotism. Poland's outgoing president, Andrzej Duda, a Law and Justice Party ally, has used his veto power to block many of Tusk's reforms. Karol Nawrocki promises to do the same, framing the election as a referendum on the government. Pollsters expect most far-right votes to go to him.
We are ready for this. We are determined, and it will all end Poland's victory. I will enter the second round of the presidential elections, and I believe that all candidates for whom Poland is an important issue, who want a Poland with aspirations.
For many Conservative voters, Karol Nawrocki symbolises pride, continuity and the protection of national identity. His supporters say he would defend traditional values and shield Poland from what they see as growing threats to its sovereignty.
My grandparents fought for Poland. My great-grandparents fought for Poland. And the governments of Civic Platform and PSL are simply taking that away from us. But if Nawrocki wins, Poland will remain Poland.
Poland will change if Nawrocki becomes president because it will free itself from foreign influence, from the influence of our German neighbours, and it will become stronger, independent and militarily reinforced.
Meanwhile, a growing number of young voters are rallying behind Rafał Trzaskowski, many of them former left-wing voters now placing their hopes in the centrist candidate. For them, this election is less about ideology and more about housing, stability and social inclusion.
We see that a lot of people want radical changes and want changes now. It's what young generation want. They want cheap housing, they want a normal work and want stability.
I would also like to pay less tax if I could. I have my own business, and of course that's important. But social policy matters more to me. Creating a space for young people, encouraging people to start families. Demographics come first. We won't achieve anything if our country isn't inclusive. It's nice not to pay taxes, but who will fund public nurseries? Where will the money come from?
As Poland prepares to cast its final votes, the stakes are high, not just for Warsaw, but for the future shape of politics across the European Union.
The Muslim world holds vast untapped economic potential. That was the key message delivered by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the second Global Islamic Economy Summit in Istanbul. Erdogan urged deeper cooperation among Islamic countries in trade, finance and investment, while also highlighting Turkey's ambition to make Istanbul a leading hub for Islamic finance.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Friday highlighted the Muslim world's underperformance and untapped economic potential, urging for greater intra-Islamic cooperation in trade, finance and investment. Addressing delegates at the second Global Islamic Economy Summit in Istanbul, Erdogan emphasized the disparity between the Muslim world's demographic weight and its economic clout.
Dünya nüfusunun %25'ini oluşturuyoruz.
Muslims account for 25% of the world's population, yet Islamic finance assets total only about $2.5 trillion. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which is the largest international organization after the United Nations, consists of 57 member countries. However, their share in global trade is only around 11%. In terms of population, we represent 25% of the world, yet our contribution to the global economy is approximately 9%. As the Islamic world, we must maximize our trade, investment, financial cooperation and collaboration opportunities.
Ve işbirliği imkanlarını en üst düzeye çıkarmamız gerekiyor.
President Erdogan also highlighted Turkey's commitment to establishing Istanbul as a global Islamic finance hub, citing the Istanbul Financial Center initiative as a major step in that direction.
Katılım finansın İstanbul merkezli olarak gelişip serpilmesine
The collaborations we have initiated under the Istanbul Financial Center serve as a concrete testament to our efforts to integrate into the global economy while preserving our Islamic values. With the dedicated efforts of our institutions and authorities, I hope we can transform these advantages into lasting achievements.
Kazanımlara tahvil edebilmeyi ümit ediyorum.
The second Global Islamic Economy Summit brings together high-level officials, experts and private sector representatives. The gathering is focused on increasing operational efficiency, encouraging innovation, strengthening risk management, promoting financial participation and supporting cooperation among industry stakeholders by developing a deeper understanding of Islamic principles.
Müslümanlar olarak
Kazakhstan has hosted the very first Central Asia-Italy summit in its capital Astana. The high-level gathering focused on boosting trade, investment and strategic cooperation between Italy and 5 Central Asian nations.
For the first time, leaders from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan and Italy came together under one roof in Astana. The summit aimed to deepen regional ties and explore new opportunities in trade, energy and connectivity. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev underlined Italy's growing role in the region.
And it's not coincidence that Italy has become the third largest partner of Kazakhstan in the world, and Italy is #1 in Europe. So I believe that we should keep momentum of and high dynamic of our mutual cooperation, and of course your visit will be playing a very important role in terms of giving impetus to further developing multifaceted cooperation between both states.
At the summit, Tokayev proposed opening an Italian trading house in Almaty and launching a B5 Plus Italy dialogue platform to bring businesses from Central Asia and Italy together. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni called Kazakhstan a key partner for Italy, especially in areas beyond energy.
Kazakhstan is a partner that for Italy is important for lots of domains, and our cooperation has always been a very, very good one, but as I was saying yesterday, there is always room to do better.
Yes.
From energy until what I consider very important, which is culture. the exchanges between our universities, our people.
The summit follows months of strong diplomatic activity. In just over a year, both leaders have exchanged visits, pushing trade to $1.3 billion in 2024. With over $15 billion in Italian investment and nearly 300 Italian companies now operating in Kazakhstan, both sides say the time is right to expand their strategic partnership, backed by new agreements signed at the summit.
And joining me now from Almaty, Kazakhstan, is Nurbulat Nishanbayev. He's an expert in international relations. Nurbulat, welcome to the program today.
Hello, welcome.
Now, how does Kazakhstan view its strategic partnership with European countries, particularly Italy, in the context of regional cooperation through initiatives like the Central Asia-Italy Summit?
Definitely, for Kazakhstan, European partners are taking greater importance in the last few years. So yesterday in Astana, we have had the first Central Asia plus Italy summit. So the relations between Central Asia and Italy definitely will reduce the depending on Russia and on China for the long term. So for now, we see on the relations between Italy and Kazakhstan, primarily the main sectors are logistics, investment, and energy sectors. But I hope those two countries should expand their relations on education, on culture, and many other sectors. Because historically, between Astana and Rome, they used to be the two parts of this Great Silk Road. So therefore, I think in 2025, it's a time to renovate those old logistical hubs. So connecting Europe and between East and West. So therefore, the role of Italy, besides Brussels, besides the European Union as a state, is very important in terms of logistics for the whole Central Asia, including Kazakhstan.
Okay. And what role do you see Kazakhstan and the broader Central Asian region playing in the evolving geopolitical and economic landscape between Europe and Asia?
Surely, Central Asia historically had been the bridge between the East and the West, also between the various civilizations. So in this matter, Central Asia in Kazakhstan are bringing together China and the European Unions, because in the last few years, we have realized that European Union countries, they are trying to stay away or reducing the dependencies on mineral resources on Russia. So for European Union, Central Asian countries is one of the best alternative spots for getting rare materials and the natural resources. So therefore, Kazakhstan will play a vital role in terms of logistical hubs, including using the middle corridors and many other projects when it comes to the bringing Europe and Asia on both sides of the same continent.
Okay. Nurbulat, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Azerbaijan has been elected as a member of UN Habitat Programme's Executive Board for the next years at the body's assembly in Nairobi. The board plays a central role in guiding UN Habitat's work on sustainable urban development. Azerbaijan's involvement with the agency has grown since hosting the World Habitat Day in 2023. The country is also preparing to host the UN World Urban Forum in 2026. A bribery case involving Armenia's former president Zaris Sarkisyan has officially been sent to court. Sarkisyan is accused of accepting a bribe of around $3 million in 2008 when he served as the defence minister. The case, now cleared to go to trial, will be heard by the country's anti-corruption court. Sarkisyan, who led Armenia for 10 years, has dismissed the charges as politically motivated, calling the case a legal conjuring. 14 members of an alleged Armenian fraud ring have been arrested in Los Angeles under suspicion of stealing $30 million in COVID relief and small business loans. According to US prosecutors, out of 18 defendants named in the criminal complaints, 4 are believed to be in Armenia.
The exclusive Fox News report revealed that an Armenian crime ring stole $30 million in COVID relief and small business loans intended to help American taxpayers. Federal agents have arrested 14 suspects in connection with the scheme. 13 of them are Armenian-born, and at least one is expected to face deportation. One of the key figures is believed to be William McGrayan, who investigators say led the operation. He's accused of using fake tax and bank documents to create shell companies, applying for $47 million in federal funds and securing around $30 million. Court documents describe McGrayan as unstable, with alleged ties to Armenian gangs. An informant told authorities he once threatened someone with a gun and a baseball bat. Investigators say McGrayan helped funnel stolen money into luxury purchases and overseas transfers, making it harder to trace. The suspects were taken to a secure processing centre after the raids. Agents seized $20,000 in cash, money-counting machines, cell phones, laptops, and 2 loaded 9mm handguns with boxes of ammunition. This marks the second week in a row that Homeland Security has carried out early morning raids in Los Angeles, targeting transnational crime networks. The suspects now face charges including conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering.
Tensions are mounting between Georgia and several European Union member states amid rising concerns over entry denials and treatment of foreign nationals. Recent travel advisories from France and Poland have warned their citizens about potential risks when visiting Georgia, citing detentions, fines and increasing scrutiny of protest-related activity. Anini Nikolashvili has more from Tbilisi.
Tensions rise between Georgia and some EU member states after the warnings from Polish embassy and the French Foreign Ministry urged their citizens to think twice before traveling to Georgia. Both statements cited growing numbers of EU nationals being denied entry, pointed to participation in the protest and even online activity as possible risk factor. The embassies also cautioned that foreigners found near the demonstrations may face hefty fines up to 5,000 lari and possible travel restrictions. Daily protests since late November, especially near the Parliament and Freedom Square, have triggered clash and detention, adding to foreign governments' concerns. But still, the Georgian government is pushing back. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze rejected these accusations, calling this warning incomprehensible and pointing to the statistics, saying that more than 33,000 foreign citizens entered to Georgia, while only a small amount of them were turned away. He compared that to Poland's refusal of 750 Georgians, insisting that numbers are speaking for themselves. The parliament speaker, Shalva Papashvili, went further, calling these warnings an attack on Georgia's economy. He argued that EU countries routinely deny farmer Georgians on their borders than Georgia does to EU citizens. As tourism season picks up, this diplomatic rift raises questions, not only about the border policy, but also about the political temperature between Georgia and some of its key European partners. It's Nini Nikolashvili reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
That's all we have for now from Baku. Stay tuned to A News for more updates.